just lost my phone. And I don't know where to go. No, my friends are getting stoned. Somewhere on a boat. Yeah. Though I feel alright by a drifter's side. Strangers on the go. That's all I have to know. Worries fade in the light. I hold a warm hand, we dance through the night. Our favorite song is stereo. While the sun beams slowly turns into stars. 3-4 hours of sleep, and my shades can't save me now. The sun is just a preheat for the night that's about to come. But I just lost my phone. And I don't know where to go. No, my friends are getting stoned. Somewhere on a boat. Yeah. Though I feel alright by a drifter's side. Strangers on the go. That's all I have to know. I've been through heartaches, I've been to heaven. I've done my best and my worst, learned my lessons. No matter how hard my life would treat me, I'd always get right back up, never worry. 'Cause I got a million reasons to keep holding on. Yeah, I got all that it takes to win and overcome. What I got is just a feeling, but it's oh so strong. It goes on and on, on and on. There's something going on inside of me. I feel it growing stronger every beat. I never just believe in what I see. 'Cause I can feel the energy, energy.
Hey robot makers, hope you're having a good day so far. So do you want to see some of my works in progress, some projects I'm currently working on? Let me get over to our slides and we can take a see what's going on there. So yeah, today's a bit of a casual live stream hangout just to show you some projects I've got in the works. I realise I work in like a 90-hour week at the moment, so no wonder like I'm feeling a bit tired every now and again. So yes, I'm going to go through my self-balancing robot using the brand new, not quite released yet, Pimoroni Inventor Hat Mini. I understand that's going to be launched very, very soon. We've even got Chris from Pimoroni on the live stream. He's the inventor of the inventor. We've also got to take a look at the robotics construction system, which is something I'm currently working on as well. This is an interesting idea where you can make reusable parts for your robots and make them really quick to print as well. We're going to look at some MicroPython microphones and sound detectors as well. I've sort of delved into that, not quite finished that piece yet. And I'm also going to show you TwitcherPie, which is a project I'm working on with the team from Redis actually as well. I'm going to show you some Burgerbot 3 upgrades. Again, these are works in progress, so not quite finished yet, but you can see the direction travel there. I'm also working on some trad-free home automation stuff, so how we can integrate that with the home assistant. And we're going to look at some code, some general updates that I've made from the website and just the learning platform as well. And of course, Bubo Tutti. I've got Bubo Tutti 2 here, which is going to be version 2 of Bubo Tutti. You can see it's not finished yet. It's even still got the all the support materials in there as well. So I'm actually going to do that as a separate video to sort of remove all those. So I've kept them on, but it's a full Bubo Tutti that's there. Okay, so the first thing I've made some improvements to is the website. So this consumes quite a lot of my time, and it's probably something you might only occasionally look at, but there's so much resources on there. I purposely put the effort in because I want this to be, you know, the resource for robotics on the internet. So it's probably a way off that at the moment, but it's getting there. So one of the first things I've done is I've made the website a little less crowded. So if I go over to kevsrobots.com, and we have a quick look at the website. So the first thing, if I go to the home, in fact we are on the home, there we are. I always get adverts of Pimoroni, which I think is really funny. These are not chosen by me, these adverts, these are by Google AdSense, I think. It's just funny because I probably have everything that's on that page there already. Maybe not that actually, what's that? So yes, the first thing, I've got a bit of an introduction, a nice big link to me and also to the robots, so that makes it really quick. I've then got another one of these little call out sections, which is like the recent videos. So once I update the YAML file that drives all this, that'll have the 2 videos that have been released today. And then this is where I've kind of expanded these and made them a bit more room to breathe. So I've not tried to cram everything into one thing. So how it works is a section where there's all kinds of articles about how things work. So breadboards is the latest one there. And they always feature some kind of a cutaway, such as, let me just find the one. Yeah, like what it looks like inside the thing. So this is a 3D model that's been rendered out, and then inside is all those. It took ages to get these to sort of work properly in Fusion 360. For some reason, the rectangular patterning tool thing wasn't playing nicely, so I spent a silly amount of time on that. So yeah, it tells you all about breadboards and stuff like that. So this is part of the How It Works series, and you can see there's quite a few different things there. I was even looking at the potentiometers one today as I was doing that video that you saw earlier. So that's the first bit. If I just jump back again. So that's the How It Works. Then we've got the robots themselves. So again, whatever the current robot is I've been working on, that'll be linked. So they're kind of sorted in order of recentness. As you can see, Bubo's there. Projects. So projects is non-robotics projects, or projects which are to do with Raspberry Pis, MicroPython, Python, that kind of thing. So you can see there we've got the IKEA lamp, and behind me you might notice there's 2 heads. So that head there that's sort of flickering a lot, that's running the official, looks like this inside IKEA. That's usually just inside the head and you don't see it. So it's got like a little ring light in there, you might be able to see if I angle it down, and it just has this button on the back. It doesn't do very much, it's not very interesting from a sort of programmable perspective. So in that project that I did, which is the one next to it, which is that one there, that one doesn't flicker as much. So that's running the Pimoroni Plasma Stick 2040W. And you can see the refresh rate on that is much more superb than the official IKEA one, which looks dreadful on camera. So they haven't got the fast refresh rate that Pimoroni have on the Pico Plasma Stick 2040W. So that's the homepage layout. It's less crowded, and I've made it much more structured and simpler to sort of consume. I've also fixed some issues with social previews. So when I paste a link onto social media, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Instagram, you can't really do links, but any website that understands social previews, and that's like a little hidden bit of HTML in the top of the code, OG for Twitter, for example, they weren't working properly. So I've fixed that now so that hopefully every page now has a link to the image and to the social card, which has got like the description, the title, and all that kind of stuff. So again, a bit of behind the scenes stuff, but all this adds to the sort of quality of the site, really. And then the learning platform, I've added 2 new sections to the learning platform. So if I go back to, jump over there, to the learning platform, let me just find, in fact I can scroll down and find it. So there's the blog, there's the reviews, there's the courses. So I released a Redis course. So just let that one load up, and you can see there these courses don't require any kind of sign up or annoying click here, anything like that. You get straight to the content. So I've made these as quality as possible. There's a piece of code that reads through how many words are in the article, and then therefore works out how fast you should be able to read it and how long therefore it will take to read. So that's a nice little piece of code that works behind the scenes. And we've got things like, what is Redis, Redis use cases, where to download it, all that good stuff. And I've got Redis running on Raspberry Pi. In fact, it's the Raspberry Pi that is going to be running inside this Twitcher Pi case once I've finished this. This was the I think this is the second iteration of the Twitcher Pi case. It's supposed to look like some binoculars, some hands like Lego hands holding it. And inside there you can see there's some blue tack. That was like probably a year and a half ago when I originally designed this, and I didn't know how to do camera mounts, so I do now. So that's what's going to go in there. So Redis is like a database for doing key value pairs. It does a lot more than that. In fact, one of the things that it does do, which is really cool, is vector databases. So that's hot at the moment, and a lot of people are interested in that, where you can look at the closeness between 2 articles rather than having some kind of relationship. So you can see how close is this word to that word, or this article to that article, all that kind of good stuff. So in all this AI madness that's going on at the moment, Redis is one of the leaders there. So that's something I'm learning myself, so I thought I'll share my learning, I'll structure that and put it into a little mini course. And these courses are really cool how they get built in the background. So there's a YAML file that has the course structure, and it has links to each of the pages, and each page is a separate lesson. And then I run a little Python program that I wrote that builds this then into a web page that then Jekyll can build into a properly beautiful page like this with all the navigation and everything. So it's really nice to be able to put these courses together quite quickly. I can do it in an evening, an entire course. The thing that takes the most time is sort of proofreading it and finding any problems with the code and things like that, but everything else works very, very nicely. And it's good to be able to refer back to these things when you're working on something else, so it all sort of adds together. And what I also do while I'm working on this, so for example, if I'm talking Redis about a particular concept, what I will do is I will link to, if I go back to the home and the glossary, I also have this glossary that I'm building up. So you can see on the left hand side here, we've got all these different articles about various different things. So GPIO is something I've just been working on today, which is that video. So I can now put in there a link to that video. It'll show up as like a separate card, a bit like this, how it works one. So again, it's nice to be able to have these linkable. So if you're talking about a particular subject, or you want to put something on Twitter that's related to this, you've got some content behind it that's super useful. So again, that's built from a YAML file that's just got a list of loads of different terms and references, and then it builds this page from that. So that's the glossary part. What else? We go back to Keynote. So yes, that was the first one, and then the second course that I've just released. So go back up to it's the MicroPython GPIO pin mastery course. So that's what that video that we just looked at 7 o'clock this evening that was just released or launched. This is the content behind that. So this is all about how to use the GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi Pico. I remember when I very first got into like Arduinos and things, I found this very confusing. I particularly found confusing that you would have physical numbers of pins, but then there was like another numbering system, and I wasn't sure how that worked. So, why is that pin over there GPIO 26, but it might be physical pin number 30 something. So I didn't understand how that worked. So this explains all of that good stuff in there. And I also talked about all the different interfaces, UART, I2C, SPI. We look at things like motors, analog to digital conversion, potentiometers, temperature sensors, all that good stuff. So, and that's a Burgerbot black and white picture there as well. So that's been launched I think it was just last week. So yes, check those out. Let me know what you think about them. Let me know if there's any courses you'd like to see on there and I'll add them to it. So some programming updates, some work in progress for... Richard says he should update his Chrome. I've not updated it in a while. That's hilarious. So yeah, some programming projects. So one of the things I was thinking was I spend a lot of time creating slides in my life for various different things, and I thought what would be really cool is if I could write some markdown, which is like really simple plain text, and then have that generate a PowerPoint or Keynote slide just by running a small Python program. So there is a module that can do that. There's a library out there which will take some markdown and make a PowerPoint, but you have to specify what kind of things you want it to do. So the thing I wanted to be able to work on this was tables. I wanted to take a markdown table and have that generate a PowerPoint table, and it can do that. So MD to key is a work in progress, and I'm really pleased in the direction that's going in because it'll just make my life so much easier. And also because it generates from markdown text, you could actually say to something like ChatGPT, generate me a markdown file, a markdown text as a presentation. You can kind of give it the format of things you want to see. So, you know, the heading 1 style is just like hash and then the title, 2 hashes and then the subtitle, and then just like the regular markdown text for doing tables. So that can help you build presentations, which I don't think it can do at the moment. It can just give you titles, but it can't format it as that. So this will really help with things like that. And I do use ChatGPT quite a lot in my work, but I don't let it do all of the work. I'll usually let it help me generate something or fill something out or reword something if I've not articulated it very well, but it doesn't do all the work. Let's just put that out there. So TwitcherPie. So like I said, I'm working on TwitcherPie, which is a project from years ago, and the premise with this, and I've done so much work on this already, I can't believe I haven't finished this off. So I want to build a system where you can put this on a windowsill. It'll have the Raspberry Pi Zero in the back and a little camera sat inside one of the binoculars there, and it can look at a bird table, and then as different birds land on the table, it can classify what they are and then report and build up like a database saying, you know, I've seen 3 starlings today and 20 house martins or whatever. And then you can just get an idea of what birds are in your area. So what I originally did was I found 100 pictures of each type of bird. I think the top 20 birds in the UK, like garden birds. And then, so that's like a lot of pictures. Is that 2,000 pictures? And then I ran that through a machine learning model to create a model that could detect birds. Now the thing is, it was great at looking at birds that were really high definition, either front on or side, but if they were sort of facing the other way, and birds tend to face, you know, with their butt towards you, eating food, drinking from the bird table rather than sort of being on the side. I mean, maybe you could engineer a bird table so that would never happen, but basically my training set was missing a lot of pictures of birds. So what I was thinking was, why not make something that can capture birds, capture birds on the table in the environment where they're going to be. Basically it could create a model from the actual real world in your garden, bird sightings. So what I was thinking was, in the second iris, so one will have the camera, one will have like a motion detector. It can then trigger and basically say, take a picture, store it in a database, and then we can then later look at that database picture, like bring it back into a web page, and then we can classify it by drawing a little rectangle around it. So all that JavaScript for drawing the rectangle around it to tag that that's like a sparrow or a crow or whatever, then I've created all that. The bit that I hadn't worked on was the database backend. So having to convert that image into like a binary format, saving it in some database, and then bringing it back, unpacking it. I got stuck on that like about 2.5 years ago. So I've been speaking to Simon from Redis. He's the person who sent me this lovely card with some merch from Redis. I've even got a hat, a nice beanie hat from Redis as well. I'm wearing my own merch today. And he's going to help me build out this database, because this is something that's new to me as well. And once I've got that, that means we can then finish TwitcherPy, which would be a nice project to have working. Next up then is Python AI. So this Python AI, I think, is my most popular series on my YouTube channel, which is like how to build your own DIY AI assistant using Python. And a lot of people have said, can you make it integrate with ChatGPT? Yes, is the answer to that, but I just haven't got around to doing that yet. So I just need to read the API, how to make those calls to ChatGPT and have it be able to respond back. So that'd be just a fun skill to add in there. And I've made this a skills-based framework, so you can add in extra plugins, extra skills very easily. So once I've written that little module, I'll do a video on that too. And then another one which I was thinking about, how can I use microphones? So I've got a whole, I love these little things from IKEA, these little trays. They can mean I can keep all my project stuff together. So I've got a whole load of these little sound modules. So you can see there, these little sound modules. And I want to use these with MicroPython. I'll come to that a little bit later on, but PySpy is the code that will, it's like the repository that's got all this code in there. So I use these MEMS microphones, little electromechanical systems, tiny little machines inside. And yeah, I want to be able to remotely detect voice and then have that, translate that voice maybe through a local VOSC server running on a Raspberry Pi, and then have that text be sent back to the Pico so it can do something like scroll it on some text, for example. You can see where I'm going there, Caleb. So behind me, I have, if I put myself on there, I have the red head there. It's currently glowing blue because it's waiting for a command. If I just bang the table though, you can see there, it can hear that noise and it sort of goes red in response to the taps. Whereas the one next to it hasn't got that in there. And that's using one of those MEMS microphones, but it's not actually doing anything, just detecting the sound level at the moment. So there's some of the programming projects I'm currently working on that haven't come to fruition. So next up is the self-balancing robot with the Inventor Hat Mini. So let me show you this. So I've been working with Pimroni. I've not done a great deal on this, I'm afraid, Chris, but I have been working on some of the code. In fact, when I did that Lego self-balancing robot, that's basically the code I'm going to be stealing to make use of this. So this is a new product from Pimroni, which is the Inventor Hat Mini. You can see there it's got 2 motor connectors, and these are those really great motor connectors that have, I'll show you on my self-balancing robot here. You can see the connectors on there. So not only can they power the motors, they can also sense the position, how many times it's turned round, and feed that back to the Inventor Hat Mini, which means we can then have really accurate measurements of where the wheels are. So really happy with that. And it's also got on there a number of other things. We've got the Quest connector on there, so we can add some extra sensors and things. We've got some GPIO ADC things in there as well, and we've got a couple of servo headers, and they've all got these nice LEDs on there as well. And that great big capacitor on there means that I can't blow things up as well, which is pretty cool. And this just sits on like a Raspberry Pi 0, so it sort of sandwiches on the top there. So here's one I made earlier that hasn't got the Inventor hat on yet. But this uses the robotics construction system, so we'll talk about that in a minute as well. So you can see it's simply just got the 2 wheels, and they're going to connect up to that motor hat that goes on the top, and then it hopefully will be able to balance itself and move around. What I haven't added on here yet is the battery and the charging circuit for the battery, and the motor driver is built into the hat, so that's taken care of there. I've also got is it an ICM 9 something or other. It's the breakout board that enables you to detect what orientation, so it's an IMU. So that's all in, it's probably in this box actually. I got the correct box, have I got it in there? No, I've not. So it's in there anyway, somewhere. Right, let's have a look at the next piece. So Chris says, knowing you'll find a way to blow it up. Probably. I'll be looking at that tomorrow, probably, just as I do the video for it. Fantastic. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look what people are having a chat about here, because I don't want to do this at the end. I want to do it now live. So let me have a see what people are talking about. So Richard was saying you had to deal with a spider. How is the spider? Is it still alive or is it not? So how much RAM? Oh, that was talking about Adam's compute module 4. So you've gone for the 32 gig version. The 4 gig of RAM, 32 gig EMC storage. Pretty cool. Yeah, they're like hen's teeth to try and find at the moment. One project I've not even started on yet, I've hidden the thing now, is I got this little camera module from Andre, who does RPI locator. I've gone blurred. RPIlocator.com, and it's essentially allowed you to put a compute module 4 on the back and have a camera connected to it, like a really small area. So I can't wait to have a go with that too. So, hey, how's it going? Let's have a see what else people are talking about there. So, got stuck in some roadworks. Some upcoming MicroPython tutorials, absolutely. So one was just launched just before this live stream, so go and check that one out. That's all about GPIO pins, and I need to finish off part 2 of that as well this week. Is that ahead of Elon's stupid robot? It probably has more intelligence than his robot. So I've just been working with Caleb and the family there from Gurgle Apps. Thanks for that, Oscar. And yeah, we're just filming a short video using a Raspberry Pi Pico to do something. I can't tell you what it is. I don't want to steal their thunder, but it was really fun. So yeah, hey Caleb. So Dale says, does your website have dark mode? I'm using Dark Reader now. It doesn't. It's something I did think about as I was looking at the CSS recently, and I thought, how much effort would it be to make it have a dark mode? And it's probably a disproportionate amount of effort to do that. So I might do that in the fullness of time, but not just yet. It requires quite a lot of extra work. There's quite a lot of classes in there that set the text to be black if it's on like a specific color. Like I have an ochre color for some of the backgrounds, and if I was flipping them, it would have to choose like a different color so that the contrast is correct. So yeah. So hey Alex, how's things going? How's your head today? So this is Alex's last week of being 20 as well. So click Firefox theme dark code. Awesome. Long drive. So working on a website for my robotics, but not happy with the style. Send me a link, Adam. I'll be happy to have a look at that. So who knew you could program websites with VS Code? Absolutely. So I can show you a peek of how I do that. There's just loads of files, and they're all markdown files. And there is just one main CSS file, and Jekyll will build that static page using the markdown, using some layouts, and yeah, pulls it all together. And it just means you don't have to run an app per se to host the website. It's just on Nginx, and therefore there's like a lot less to be hacked in there. So yeah. So yeah, good. Caleb says good, thanks, especially after the call with Kev. So funny. How's the little baby doing there? That was so funny. So Richard says, wondering if these emoticons in the YouTube chat, I shall click them. Try it out. Absolutely. I want to see if they come on screen. Let's see what else people are saying. So if you want to follow my social medias, I'll put a slide up in a minute. You can have a look at all those if you don't know where I am on social media. So should update my Chrome. That Chrome has probably been open about a week now. I think I need to do a bit of a reboot. Everyone should update their Chrome. So Dale says, I should start making tutorials for stuff too. Absolutely should. It does take a lot of extra effort, but the good thing is the quality of both your write-up and your actual code will increase, because you might find, that when you're writing up the tutorial, the documentation, you might find that something you expect to happen didn't happen, and vice versa. So yeah, it just helps you simplify your code for somebody else to read. Yeah, code is one of those things that you write, the amount of time it takes to write it versus the amount of time people spend reading it is disproportionate. So always spend time writing better code and documenting it. Do it and upload them to Hackster.io and Hackaday. Yeah, I mean, I think, is it Hackaday has they have like an importer tool, so you can point it at a website and it can basically grab all that information and put it in their own format, because they like all the products that you use to be separated. So I do put like a bill of materials in a lot of my write-ups. That takes quite a lot of time, and I don't always put a link to the actual product if I don't have it. So, and even if you put a link, sometimes it's only a link to something that's available in your country and not everywhere else. So yeah, there is that. But I think Hackster.io and Hackaday and in what's it called, Instructables, they have like an importer tool, I think. So it has an update button. Just reminding him. Mine doesn't. So what's CVE 2023-2033 2 days ago? What's that? What's CVE? I obviously need to know about that. Got counts on both of those. Chrome auto updates. I'm sure I have auto updates, but I don't come out of Chrome very often and go back in unless I need to like reboot, which on a Mac isn't very often. It just keeps working. I have Swell, but upload to Hackster.io. Yeah, I mean, one of the things is I want to build a resource of my own rather than just putting it on everybody else's sites. I want people to come to my site and it be the center of the universe for robotics rather than it being somebody else's site. So it's just one of those things. So I'm happy to share my stuff, but I like to self-host it as well. So Dale says, I'm working on some machine learning stuff by working through the Tiny ML cookbook. Guy and Marco Modis, is that? If you're interested in machine learning, you really need this book. I shall have to check that one out, Dale. So busy writing a book on M5 Stack. I don't think I'm going to have the patience or the time to write a book. I've probably written enough material to go into a book, but I don't think it'd be a very good story. The robots did it. Talking about Lego bricks, did you see the picture I posted of the programmable Lego bricks I have? I'm not sure I have, actually, Adam. Send me a link. So Dale says, I would highly recommend getting the Arduino Nano 33 BLE Sense because it has most of the sensors you need for experimenting with machine learning. Cool. So Chris is saying, knowing you find a way to blow up the inventor. I probably will. I hope I don't, because I'd be really sad if I blew up the only one I've got. So no, I don't only blow things up, I also drop them on the floor as well. That's very true, Adam. Electro boom. Anything dropped yet? I don't think I've dropped anything yet. No, there's no components on the floor yet, but there's still time. There's still a lot of time for me to do that. Did you ever cover BLDC motors? I don't think so. What are BLDC motors? I'm not sure. I'm familiar with that. Is that some kind of Bluetooth? I have no idea what that could be. Tell me more, Andromeda. Dale says, I have a bunch of stepper motors I got from disassembling a 3D printer, 10 of them. That's pretty cool. And they're usually pretty beefy, aren't they? They're them NEMA 17 ones, probably. They're pretty beefy. So I've got 10 stepper motors from disassembling. Pretty cool. I've got loads from 3 2D printers. Yeah, are they HP or Canon or Epson or something? Oh no, YouTube, oops, buffering, stay home, and purple face. Is that, are they emojis? Is that how they come across on, so I'm using a piece of software that's called Restream, and Restream will take my feed and then send it out to all of the different platforms such as like Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, maybe somewhere else I can't remember, and it will also take all the comments from those sources as well and provide one feed. So yeah, so that's what they come up, that's what they look like, unless I go over to like the actual live stream thing and have a look. Let's see if I can see that. Yeah. So if I go over to, if I just share my screen for a second, so this is what I can see when I'm live streaming. My face is just in the way there, but yeah, I can see all the emojis and things there. There we go. Unit tests. So these emoticons appear over the video. No idea what they're supposed to do. Yeah, I'm not really sure either. I think I've got the let me find, yes, I've got the stream elements switched on as well. They're like overlays. If people subscribe and stuff, they appear on screen too. So Adam says, yeah, that's why I'm building my own website, in order to centralize my docs. Exactly. And the thing with, if you put it on, say, another site like Hackster.io or Thingiverse or whatever, you're kind of reliant on them doing the right thing and maintaining their website and making it up to date and making your stuff available. Now, Thingiverse, the amount of times I've uploaded like a 3D model there and they just not indexed it, and you can't find it unless you have the actual code. Well, that's useless. That doesn't help anyone discover my stuff. So one of the things I thought was, if I create a website that's got a valuable resource that people want to keep coming back to and seeing, and it changes every day, there's more stuff being added, then Google will start to rank that higher when people search for stuff. And it kind of becomes like a cross-pollinated. So for example, Kayla, when you get your video released, I'll write a blog entry about that, and then, you know, that'll help your channel grow. It'll become useful because people can see it on my site as well. And YouTube and Facebook notice these things, and it helps just grow the influence overall. So you're not reliant on one platform that might go away, is what I'm saying there. So Chris says on here, I've got 200 unsellable Motor 24s. I felt so bad about that, Chris. So yeah, we're working on that Motor 2040. I said I was testing it for Chris and Pimroni before it was launched, and I did something where I had the Motor 2040, and if I held the motors and pressed the reset button like that, it basically made the power spike, because it tried to transfer all that energy, I think, into the motors, and they can act as like a capacitor or something, and then that all goes then back into the chip. So unless it has like a great big fat capacitor on it, just like that one there, that energy's got nowhere to go other than back through the regulator. Is that right, Chris? I'm probably talking a load of nonsense now, but essentially, yeah, it blew up, and I was the person to discover that, and they'd manufactured 200 of them. So as long as you don't do that, they'll work fine on those particular prototype versions. Thanks, Adam, for that. It's in the Discord. I shall check that out. And I'll put a link up in a minute to the Discord server as well. Brushless DC motors. Thanks for that, Chris. I don't know is the answer. I'm not that hot on different types of motors. So are these brushless? These are N20 or micro mechanical metal encoder wheel motors. I don't know. Are they brushless or not? I wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at that. I'm a big fan of those N20 motors, though. I think I use them in everything. So a question there for your Python series for robotics. Is it enough to know about Python? So yeah, I should think so. The course I did on like an introduction to Python, that's got everything you need to sort of get started with that. There's a great book by Danny Staple if you want a book on Python and robotics, so I'd check out Danny Staple. He's Orion Robotics on Twitter and all the social medias. He's written some excellent books on that, so you can definitely check those out as well. I don't mind sharing that advice. So brushless motors, right. It needs an ENC to drive them. So like the kind you use in a drone, they use an ESC, don't they? Difficult to fire up. Would love a tutorial. Yeah, I have played about the idea of building a drone, but there's quite a lot of iteration required for that, and I don't know if I have the time for that. So why are those 200 Motor 2040s unusable? Because I found a design flaw in a particular use case. So I'm good at blowing stuff up. Blowing stuff up, I'm dropping things professionally. That's my that should be my job title. So he blew up one, but we're only made 200. But I went down to I went across to the Sheffield factory and demonstrated that particular use case, because I think you couldn't find out how exactly I did this, but was able to sort of see it on the oscilloscope where the power spiked up, and then we put the capacitor across it, and it wouldn't do that. So that was the fix, but it did require Chris like re-engineering the whole board so that shifting stuff about to fit on that extra component, because they're pretty tightly packed on there. But I think the Motor 2040 is one of my favorite boards. I use it in like a ton of projects. I've got a whole wall full of robots there that use the Motor 2040, so a big fan of that. So yeah. over 200. More or less. Includes a free capacitor. There's a quality thing there, isn't there? You can't. So no, N20s have a 2-wire so brushed. I did not know that. So brushless ones have 3 wires. So you'll know if you're using brushless motors before, they have different kinds of motor drivers, I see. So anyone looking at the Grand Studio Marble Pico has 8 mega flash, SD card, LiPo, USB. So who does that? Grand Studio? Not heard of them before. Will you do a machine learning series? So I have actually done some stuff on machine learning already. There is a video about the Jetson Nano, and in that one we actually build a model live during that video to recognize various different things. So we classify and then we do object detection and classification in like one go, the single shot. So yeah, we cover that in that particular one. And I think there's a couple of other videos as well about machine learning. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, if you check the go to my channel and basically just search for that, you'll find the videos there. Cool. Right, let's get back to Keynote and let's have a look at this robotics construction system. So before I was talking about this self-balancing robot. Now this uses this construction system, and what this is I dropped something. So that's the first drop. Right, let me go over to Fusion 360 and let me show you what this looks like. So I've designed all these various different pieces, and they're a bit like, it's cross between like Lego, Meccano, that kind of thing. So there's, like, say, this side plate, which is 6 by 4. And when I say 6, so 1 unit is 8.5 millimeters. It just seemed to be a size that worked well with all the different things. So if you get like a Raspberry Pi Pico, I think that's what's that, 60, 70 or something like that across, or like tall, 65 tall, and that divides by 8.5, I think. Anyway, so 8.5 is the unit, so 6 by 4 is like 6 units by 4 units. And so each of these different panels has, let me move this around so you can see, can connect to other ones just using like an M3 screw. So all these holes are M3 screws, and you can see, so there's like flat pieces. Flat pieces are great because they print really quickly, even like a low quality, so you can print them really fast and they're very strong. And then there's these sort of L pieces that kind of sit at the corner and hold everything together. So it's really rigid when you put the screws together, really, really solid. And that means we can then add to various different specialized components. So on this particular one I've got here, for example, you can see that's got the Raspberry Pi 0 in there, and there's like a holder that sits on top of that sort of base panel. And then if I flip it over, you can also see that there is some wheel motor holders, and they work with these N20 style motors as well, and they just attach to the bottom plate, and they can attach, you know, in lots of different orientations. So it's completely configurable, and you can build different shaped robots just using these panels. So that makes it reusable. It makes it so that it's you know, you can design new shapes a bit like Meccano or Lego, I guess. So there you go. I think I just switched off that Meccano wheel there. So yeah, there's lots of different pieces that I'm working on for that. And I kind of went for that like low poly look, so it's quite angular on purpose, and that also helps with the rigidity and just makes it so you can do more things with it. So that's something I'm working on. I've not released any of these yet because I'm still playing around with the various different shapes and so on. So yeah, that's the robotic construction system. So yes, in fact, there we go. So it's modular, quick to print, reusable, extendable, compatible, and of course it will be open source as well. So you'll be able to design your own bits and pieces, and I'll share all the different measurements edge to edge of everything too. So MicroPython microphones, sound detectors, and the IKEA lamp head version 2. So I was showing you before, I've got this tray full of various different bits and pieces. So I went with, there was somebody who recommended on Twitter, I think it was, that I try out these, are they Max 4466? Yep. And this is like a tiny little MEMS microphone from Adafruit, and these ones are apparently really high quality. They have like a built-in amplifier. So one of the things I found with these these cheap ones, you can actually get like a sound signal from this. You can hear speech, but it's really, really quiet, really, really quiet. So it needs some kind of amplification. So I was really pleased that you could actually capture sound on a Pico. But then you need to do something really quickly, because that will fill up any kind of buffer or storage that you have on a Pico, because they don't have a lot. So I was thinking about this could be like a remote sound detection, send off the stream maybe over like RSTP, which is what I can use for streaming myself, to like a Pico, and then that could do something with it, like maybe convert the sound into text, because it can do voice recognition, and it can send that back over something like MQTT back to the Pico, and then that could perhaps display something on a screen. So that's kind of bit what I've been looking for, is like what's the best microphone to use with the Pico. I also bought myself another plasma stick, because these things are just like so useful, and I've got loads of these same microphones. Basically I've got about 5 of these very similar microphones. I also bought this one as well. It just looked quite nice on the Pimoroni site. So that's like a microphone sound sensor module. I think this one does analog as well as digital, and it's in a nice little package in there. So there's that too. What else have we got? So there was one from SparkFun. SparkFun sound detector. So they don't call this one a microphone, they call it a sound detector, and it essentially just reports back like a 16-bit unsigned integer value to say that this sound level has been heard. If you read that quick enough, you can probably build the sound wave from that. I also bought some of these little Adafruit ring NeoPixel ring lights. I love those. I use those quite a few projects. So yeah, this was the little piece that dropped on the floor before. So this is, there you go, I can detach it. This is part of that Robotics construction system. So even without applying screws into them, you can just push them together and they sort of fit together quite nicely, but obviously with a screw they'll be a lot stronger. So that's a prototype there. So let's have a see what people have been talking about there. So Dale says, I've got the Jetson Nano TX2NX module. Just need to get some proper cooler for it. One. That's how many things I've dropped so far. We do need like a drop counter behind me, don't we? Just one of these galactic unicorns just dedicated to the drop things. Maybe we could attach it to the sound module. If it hears like a falling sound, a sharp sound, it can count up from there. So Gary Explains did a video on it. Cool, I shall check that one out. So right, so the TX2NX is supposedly 2.5 times faster than the Jetson Nano. So thanks for that, Laurie. Yes, I thought there'd be something useful and I will probably use myself. So that's why I started building that. If you've got a strip of 2040s, I think you can get some PCBs made. I've not got any myself. I think Pimoroni sell them though by the reel. You can buy as many as you like. I think they're £1 each, are they? They were when they launched them. So Adam says, I find MQTT often fills memory, so I have to force GC collect. Really? I've not found any issues with that. Using the simple MQTT, I've not had any issues with that myself. And Dale says, I'm using the PDM for I2S, which is the audio protocol for sending data from Adafruit. Got their new Metro M7 1011 board too. Awesome. I've got their Grand Central one just in a box up there. It's a beast. It's absolutely massive. So not had any issues with it. I send Jason over to go in QTT Node-RED. Perfecto. Same. I have that seamless on ESP32s. Oh, it seems to affect the ESP32s. That's because they're inferior chip than the Pico. That's why. I'm joking. So my motion light things are all ESP32s and no problem either. Sometimes lost connection when it crashes. Yeah, you've got to build in code to be able to reconnect. That's an essential thing, I guess. So yeah, what I want to do with these sound detectors then is basically just do that. Have some kind of remote, almost like a spy microphone. I'm not sure I'll call it that, but a remote microphone that you can put various different places, and it can then do like voice detection. So it just means you can get like a, say, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it, don't drop it. If I get my Bubo 2T2, for example, why have I gone blurred? I could put in there like one of these remote things, and it means we could do voice recognition detection, but kind of offload the work of doing that to a separate computer. So yeah, don't you just love MQTT? I do. I think it's a great protocol. Okay, let's get back over to Keynote and let's see what else. So yeah, Twitch Pi 2 using Redis. So I think we've talked about that already. So yeah, that project is a work in progress. And Simon is looking into doing some kind of capturing a picture, encoding it, storing it in Redis, and then bringing it back. So very interested to know how that goes. And I shall continue with Twitch Pi after that. So if you want me to continue making these kinds of videos, I'm not threatening not to do this. That sounds like a threat. Make sure you give this video a like. Drop me a comment. Let me know which your favourite project is that I've been working on so far. If there's any you'd like me to bump up to the top of the list. And also make sure you subscribe as well, just so that you get notified whenever I do new videos. Sometimes I sort of do a quick release and not warn anyone. And I do go live every single Sunday at 7 o'clock, either Greenwich Mean Time or British Summer Time, whichever we're in. So it's a 7 o'clock-ish. Local time, but yeah, you probably get the groove of that. And we've got merch. Look at this cool hat. It's really good quality. So this is embroidered. It's really nice. It's a really comfortable hat, really good quality. I've test driven it, so I'm really happy with how that works and how that looks. A bit pricey, I suppose, for a hat, but it is what it is. It's Teespring who set the prices on these, but they actually arrive pretty quick. I ordered it on a Monday and it came by like the Thursday, so it's pretty quick for them to turn that around. And we've got some other things as well. So we've got some Bubo 2T t-shirts, and we've got some cups and mugs. I just need to rename some of the wording on this because it says branded mug and notepad, branded mug and notepad. Well, that's just a notepad and that's just a mug. And that's to replace, not to replace, but to enhance. I've got this one, but it's getting all cracked and everything underneath my Raspberry Pi one, so I'd have like a Kev's Robot one as well. Do you like the Kev's logo, the Kev's Robots logo? So it's like a robot sort of like doing some kind of 3/4 turn, but it's also got the K in there as well. I thought that was quite neat. So there we go. So yeah, Python or C, Python then to fill the memory. Okay, that's the memory issue with MQTT. So Dale's got a new Cricket board, which hopefully you're getting with Archie working. Cricket, so I've got one of the Cricket ones for the microbit. Is Cricket the format? It's like a octagonal shaped board, is that right? Yeah, let me know. So you need a TikTok of your top 10 drops, Kevin, to entice new viewers. Yeah, I could do that. A new video's dropping, about dropping. I could see how that could work. I've also got a really crunchy chair. I think I need to like put some WD-40 on this because like it crunches quite a lot when I move about. So Adam says Python, thanks for heads up. So debug my code. Cool. Right, so that's the merch. Yeah, so if you check out the kevsrobots.com/merch, it should redirect you to a Teespring store. I've not got like a custom domain name for that yet, but I will set that up shortly. And you can get these hats, you can get all the t-shirts, you can get all the good stuff. Why would you not want to? And it obviously helps out the channel if you do that too. So Burgerbot, right, so Burgerbot has got a number of upgrades. So I've got my Burgerbot tray here. Let me show you. I've actually created 4 Burgerbots so far, so you can see 3 just behind me there. This is the latest iteration. So it's not, I think I need to redo this one ever so slightly because that's kind of raised up ever so slightly. But the premise works. I was trying to figure out a way to have this keypad slide in and then not require glue, because underneath here there's the screws just in case you need to unscrew the top and get at the gubbins inside. So this just slides in between 2 gaps. And what I was really pleased with how this works from a sort of an engineering perspective, this 3D prints flat, so it's really quick to print, and I didn't want to have little support materials between the base of this and this little slot there. So there was a hole that goes all the way through from that point. So it does do support materials, but they don't get sort of trapped in there and you're having to sort of gouge them out. So that works really nice. And it says Burgerbot on there as well. Just like that. So the idea of this is you've got this keypad. If you remember Big Track, in the 80s we had this toy called Big Track, and it was quite big. It took like monster-sized batteries, were they like D batteries, and it needed like a ton of them. And it would run for like 5 minutes, and then you'd need more batteries. So the idea of this is that you can program it. So you can have like, you know, up, down, left, right, maybe, and you can program it with the various different buttons on there. So you sort of do A and then that, and it'll go forward so many steps. That's the kind of thing I was thinking of there. And what I'm waiting for on this one is some motors. So I've ordered them from Pimoroni. They should be arriving tomorrow, and these are the encoder ones. And I'm going to be using the motor shim on top of that, as well as the LiPo shim for charging the LiPo battery, which is on the back. So that's got the gallium battery on there. So these are really nice, really easy to make, really cheap to build as well. I didn't drop it, but the wheel did fall off, but I caught it. So does that count as a drop? I think it might count as a drop. I think I need to put these wheels on a different orientation, because they do sort of come off quite easily, but that can be useful if you're working on it. So that's Burgerbot version 3, and that one just has the keypad. So one of the other upgrades I want to make on the next one, so I've got some more pieces to build another one. So this is how it sort of gets constructed. These are the motor holders. They all screw together with some M3 screws, I think they are. And that's the battery holder at the back, and the sort of the support for the top. And then there's a number of different upgrades I want to make. So I've not printed the front piece, which is like the sort of face piece here. What I'm thinking is, do I have it in a box? Not sure if it's in this box or not. Yes. So what I'm thinking is 3D printing something that can hold this. So this is an ESP32 camera module. So it's got the little motherboard thing on it as well, so you can power it by micro USB-B connector, or you can basically just connect one of the pins to like the Raspberry Pi Pico or the LiPo shim, or if I use the LiPo Amigo Pro, there's some pin outs on that for 5 volts, so we can basically just power this from that. Now it won't have any other connectivity, it'll be just running the firmware that comes with these, so you can connect it over Wi-Fi and you can get like a live stream of what this can see, and that's basically going to sit at the front in like a little 3D printed face section on there. So that's going to be the first thing. It's going to have like a camera module. The next thing it's going to have, I'm not sure if I've got it in here, is, in fact, there's the that's the LiPo Amigo Pro that I'm going to connect in there. So that one has like a LiPo charger, and it's got all these headers, pin outs on there as well. And it's even got like this on-off button too. So I'm going to build that onto the board as well, so we can get some extra power outs there. But yes, I'm going to include on there. Let me go back over to my slide, because I think I wrote down what these would be. We have an IMU, so it'd be that IMC9 something or other. It's the breakout from Pimoroni, makes it really easy to sort of connect these together. So that'll be able to like work out the orientation of the robot, see if it's flipped over or anything like that. I'm going to put a line following module in there as well. So where I've got the hole for the pen, we could also drop a line sensor in there. So that's just like an infrared. It's like 2 units, one sends, one receives. One sends out a light, the other receives the light, and it can detect whether something's black or white underneath it, so it can therefore like follow the line. And if it's in the middle, dead in the middle like this is designed to be, it'll make it sort of turn on the spot. Also going to include in there a temperature sensor, so I've got a whole bunch of extra sensors. Not sure if they're in there. Did put it in here, but I can't find where it's gone now. There we go. So there's 3 popular sensors that I like to use for temperature, because they're like really cheap, and it's these DHT ones. So this is a DHT 11, the black one. There's a DHT 22 and a DHT, what's the other one? Oh, there's 11, 22, and then there's this one. I can't remember what this one is in that case. It probably says on there and I can't read it. But yeah, they simply just take temperature, but they have different precisions, and they also do humidity and barometric pressure as well, I believe. You could also get like the BMC, what's the number of that? I forget off the top of my head, but it's the one that 280 BME280, and that's used on like a lot of projects. So in fact, there's probably one on here actually. So there's this popular board from Monk makes, and they do all kinds of sensors, but they're designed for like crocodile clips, just to make it really easy to connect things up. I often use things like this when I'm prototyping. So there'll be basically just the sensor rather than all this board around it on the board, so we can take a temperature. And the idea being you could like remotely drive your Pico robot around your house, for example, and take temperature readings. You could have it do on a schedule, something like that. And if we've got things like the accurate, try to put that back on there. We've got a camera, we've got an accurate IMU, we've got pretty much a ROS robot ready to go there, just like a remote ROS robot. So yeah, that's, and I'm also include, of course, like a little speaker, a little buzzer. These are a really great little piezo. Not sure if this is the active one or the inactive one. It's basically very, very small little component, and you can basically just connect that to 2 pins, ground and a pin on your Pico, and you can make it buzz, or if you're really fancy, you can make it do sound output. I was thinking about the sound as well, the sound in. And I've also got this touch sensor I'm waiting to use. So I've got these little sensors, which little like capacitive touch sensor. So on the back it looks like that. This is like a great big circle thing. Let me go a bit closer on that and show you what this looks like. There you go, that's the model number of it. I think these are quite common, and that's what it looks like on the front. So it just says touch sensor on there as well. So I'm building all those different sensors into Burgerbot as a separate kind of upgrade pack, if you like. Cool. So I can see somebody said drop on there. So what else we got on here? Yes, that's correct. The Cricket for Circuit Playground. Awesome. So yeah, I've got the microbit version of that. I plan to get myself the Circuit Playground version. I've got a couple of Circuit Playgrounds. I've got the Blue Fruit, and I've got the one that the original one they did before. It was like a Blue Fruit one. It's like a prototype version. RT is my little round robot, says Dale. Cool. Drop, says Richard. So I have a desk camera that hangs above my desk. Wish I could mod it to look like Ralph from FOTN. What's FOTN? Ralph. There used to be a program in the 80s called Ralph, and there was this kid who had this great big room full of computer stuff, and Ralph was his like sentient computer, because obviously why would it not be sentient back in the 70s or 80s? But yeah. So Adam says the DHT series has a bug in it, and it's advised to use the SHT series instead. Is that for real? DHT, they have MicroPython has like support for DHT like right from the very beginning, as well as servo classes. So yeah, they're very common. Flight of the Navigator, of course. I've been watching that that documentary series about like after Flight of the Navigator. It's quite interesting to watch that, and there's been quite a few documentaries about like what happened to all the stuff, what happened to the ship, and it's now like oh, thanks for that, Gustavo. Thank you very much for subscribing. Yeah, Flight of the Navigator, the actual ship's in one of the Disney parks, I think, and it's like that delivery ship from Futurama or something. They've like really messed with it, but I mean it still exists. I don't know, I expect these things to be kept for some reason, but yeah, a lot going on with that. Okay, so that was the Burgerbot upgrades. What else have we got on here? So the trad-free home assistant integration. Let me grab my box of bits here. So I've got this other tray here which has got all these different things. So that's got the power adapter on it for the original IKEA head thing. That's how it comes. But I've got a number of different connectors and things. So I've got like this little push button remote control thing, so you can like do up and down, left and right as like a remote. I think it runs on like an AA battery or something. There's a smaller version of that, we'll find it, which is basically like an on-off button. These are really, really small. It has like a coin cell to operate that. And you just need to have like the router in the same room, I think, to detect it, or at least anything that uses the Zigbee protocol. And I've got a number of different things, like these are the power on-off switches. Now what isn't cool about this is there's no physical on-off button. I like the Elgato Eve ones. They have like a button on the top, you can press it and physically turn it on and off. But these ones only work. There's like a tiny little pinhole there to put like a paper clip in to make it bond with the router. And I really don't like putting like stabby bits of metal into things that have got like mains. That just doesn't seem like a great idea, really, because you have to do this while it's plugged in, of course. Yeah, so I think that's a bit of a bad design. Could they not just put a button on it, like a physical button, rather than a button that's deeply recessed? I mean, for something that's basically needed by anybody that uses it. And I've got a number of different lights and things that connect to this whole trad-free system. So I want to connect that up to Home Assistant. I understand there is people already done this, so this should be quite straightforward. It's just like Lego blocks, just using that bit of code and banging it all together. But yeah, all these different lights I have here behind me. So there's that light there that says basic, the Galactic Unicorn. There's another one which is just running like the computer code, and then there's that other one just behind me there which is like doing that plasma effect. I want to be able to press a button and them all just drop off at the same time, and I can do that by using one of these like power brick things, and what do you call them? What do you call them in the US? We just call them like a power adapter or four-way adapter, power thing. I can basically just plug one of those into one of these and have the whole thing turn off and onable. So I think that's pretty much it. What have I got going on in that box there? This has just got various different bits and pieces in it that Raspberry Pi Pico probe. Not done much with that really. Got loads of connector wire things. And I've got some spare Pimoroni bits that I'm going to be using on some projects. I love these LiPo Amigo Pros. I go through these like on every project. They're just really great, really small, and they just work. The shim for the Raspberry Pi is great to be able to put in power into your projects. There we go. That's one I kept getting wrong. So it's called the IMC 20948, and it's a 9 degree of freedom motion sensor breakout. So it's got the breakout sort of format on there. You can see that's the little thing, and yeah, these work really great. So I've got one of those, and I've got another LiPo Amigo Pro, because why wouldn't you have loads of these? So not done anything with this Inky yet. So this is the Pico Inky. So this goes on to like a little Pico, and it's just like a little display. That could be a project. In fact, I've got the whole series of Inkies here. This is where I do not want to drop these, because these cost a fortune. So look at the quality of the image on that. That's absolutely superb. There's nothing powering this. Just got the Pico board there. I'm thinking about some kind of dashboard for this, for the weather station that I've got outside. I want to have all the nice graphs and things on there. I've also got the slightly smaller version. It's still massive. This is the 5.7 inch version, and then there's the smaller 4-inch version of that as well. So that's like the entire lineup of Inky frames. I've also got the impression versions of these as well. Put that over there. Still all sort of wrapped up in the paper there. So these are the same, but instead of having the Pico on the back, they've got like the header for the full Raspberry Pi. But they're absolutely gorgeous displays, these. I absolutely love them. So yeah, thinking about what I can do with these, and particularly with a low power usage, they can stay on a battery for a very, very long time. There we go. Now, we were talking about Compute Module 4s before. So Andre from rpilocator.com sent me this CM4 buddy, and basically you just plug in your Compute Module into the back of there, and then there's a little camera connector just there where my finger is, and that means you can have like a really thin, very simple Raspberry Pi 4 computer that can take pictures in like a really small form factor. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on another Compute Module. I do have one in that project just there, which is that Atari 2600, but I think there's an issue on that I need to sort out. Right, Bubo 2T2. This is one I do not want to drop. So let me show you Bubo 2T2. I'm going to take bits at a time and show you this. So this is a project I've been working on, and this is basically the same file printed out but just not finished. So you can see there, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like inside. That's still got all the support materials. And one thing you won't know about is when these two bits push together, there's like a jigsaw piece. Go together like that. and if I give them a bit of a push together there, they form like a really neat, you can see how that goes together? And that locks them into place. It gives them stability in that kind of up and down direction, side to side. And then there's these screw holes around the top. I was thinking like hair, like braid things. And they sort of lock in place so that it's like really rigid once that's all connected up. And then underneath, so this is the bottom of Bubo. So we've got like the, I always think this looks a bit Star Wars-esque. So there's the plate that goes on the bottom there is like a flat piece, and it just has 4 holes in it. And then there's this piece here, which is, this is the Raspberry Pi 4 holder. So I designed these pieces to all fit together nicely. So if I, this is where I'm going to drop something. If I hold these together and screw them in place over those 4 mounting holes, we've then got the Raspberry Pi 4 holder. And then this is the top piece, which will screw into a couple of those holes there as well. The same holes we've just seen. And that provides the base that this can connect to. So there's 2 holes there and there, and in that front piece there is 2 holes there and there, and these basically provide the support for that. I think it actually goes, yeah, because it goes like an orientation like that. So it means it's got like a really stable base. And I designed all these pieces kind of after, so I designed the original shell and I put 2 mounting points on there and thought I can just basically hang everything else off that, and that's kind of what happened there. So that's what Bubo looks like inside. And the 2-2 version, I was thinking about making it so that maybe it could rotate on that base, because Bubo doesn't currently rotate, it just has its eyes moving, its little beak, and the LED rings in its eyes. So yeah, I was thinking about what the functionality I could put into that. And I was wanting to make a second one because Bubo Tutti is potentially going off to an art exhibit next year in, I'm not sure it'll be actually, I've not been contacted to say where the actual location is. They basically just want to organise that event and then take it away. So there we go. So yes, people have told me some things. Then we just scroll up. Alright, so we were talking about the DHT issue. It only affects the I to C variants. I see. The sensor community advises against DHT and SHT. Interesting. So do they go with like the BMC 280 instead? That seems like a really popular temperature, humidity sensor. I said that, but the info came from a manufacturer of the sensors. Interesting. Sensorion. So Alex says multi-plug. Wrong name. That's what Americans call it. Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What do we call this? A multi-plug. What does it say on here? It just says an extension power. Extension lead. I mean, it's more than an extension lead. The lead is just the cable, isn't it? The cord. We call it a cable. You call it a cord in the US. We've got these British plugs, which are the safest plugs in the world. Not let anybody tell you anything. If those plugs that Americans use, that looks like a... In the UK, we still have those, but just for shavers. I don't know why that's the standard, but, you know, if you have like an electric shaver, I'm doing the motion just in case you're not understanding what I'm saying. They just have like the 2 holes. So we have to have like a little travel plug to make it into that 3 variant there. So that top one is the earth, and then you've got like the positive and negative there. And it means it can only go in one orientation, so you always get it correct. And they have like the 240 volts as well, between 230 and 250, but 240 is usually the standard in the UK. And that means you can you've got a lot more current. We went to New York a couple of years ago, like 2016 I think it was. And being British, we wanted to have a kettle in our room to be able to make a cup of tea. Kettle is just like an electric water heater, like tub. And this was, they were like, what is this? There's a microwave. We're like, no, we want like a kettle to boil the water so we can make some tea. And they gave us one, but it was 110 volts. So instead of like the British version that's 240. And it took like half an hour to boil some water. Like normally it takes like 5 minutes, and that's because of the amount of current you can pass through these. So yeah, these are really safe. And the 2 connectors on it, if I pull this off, I don't know why I'm giving you this lecture on plugs, but just while it's there. So British plugs have these these 2 black insulators. So if you put your hand like that and you try to push it into the socket like that, you cannot actually get the thing to go in far enough before those make contact. So even if you could, there's like an insulator just showing through there. And there's also in here, you can't like shove like a screwdriver in or anything into these sockets. They've got like a little shield, and only when that longer pin goes in, it pushes those shields out of the way so you can make a contact. So like these are just like so safe, and we've had them for years. So just an aside, just in case you didn't know that. So we've got Moses there. Hey Moses, how's it going? So let's see what we're talking about. The uncouth use microwaves for boiling water for their coffee. Exactly. We want freshly boiled water. They have 240 in America. Kettles of 1 litre of water takes 5 minutes to boil 110 volts. Is that so? 5. So they do have 240. I thought it was all 110. I guess it depends whereabout, maybe. Hey Steve, how's it going? Not seeing any CV2 stuff for the Jetson Nano. Or you've been working on some Computer Vision 2 OpenCV stuff, Jetson Nano, or some Power Strip. Thanks, David. Yeah. The UK power plug was designed by a woman. Do you know, I didn't know that, Tim. That's awesome. That makes it even better. I know there's a guy who, he did loads of documentaries for the UK, and he's got one of these like double barrel names. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Is that like a Welsh name? Anyway, and he's got like a campaign to stop people who basically, where we have like wall sockets, like the outlets, these plug sockets as we call them, where they're on like a wall, you can buy like a plastic thing that goes in there to like protect them. And he's like, that's dangerous. They can actually set on fire. I mean, the plastic shouldn't act as an, because it's an insulator, it shouldn't act as that, but it's actually dangerous putting things into here. They've already got these shields that drop down and prevent any sort of egress of things. So he was like against them and had a campaign. There was like a website and everything. So yeah, fascinating to be like, why did he get involved in that? Why was that his? Why was that the hill he was going to die on? I don't know. I'd love to work with you on robotics, which is something relatively new in Kenya, and hoping agribots. Awesome. Yeah, the only kind of agribots I've built are the in the corner just over there. There is the it's basically the Pimroni Pico grow system, Enviro Grow, and the grow hat. So yeah, it basically just monitors and waters the plants. So that's basically grown my chilies quite well, actually. I'll show you them at some point. But yeah. So I did not know that. So the US does have 240 in lots of places. I didn't realise that. So that must be confusing. How does it know when to switch? Or do you have to just like manually toggle some plastic switch to say this is 240? The UK only has 240, so it's pretty ubiquitous wherever you go. Yeah, UK fuse plug and switch socket safest in the world. They're supposed to stop children inserting things into PowerPoints, but in reality they are worse, exactly. Yeah, can't remember the guy's name, but yeah. It'll come to me. I'll put it in the Discord if I remember. Cool, so let's see what else we got going on here. I know loads of useless facts. So yeah. In fact, we're talking about Discord. If you've not already joined our Discord server, you might want to head over to kevsrobots.com/discord, and you can sign up and join there and learn interesting facts about stuff. And also there is the How It Works resource now, which is on kevsrobots.com/resources. You can check out how all various different things work, such as breadboards, which is the one I released recently. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can check me out on Kevin McAleer 6 on TikTok. I'm Kevin McAleer on Instagram, and I'm at KevsMac on Twitter. And I'm also on Mastodon. I don't post there too much, but KevsMac at Mastodon Social. I don't cross-post to that too often, to be fair. So, oops, what's happened there? That was weird. What happened to my little thing there? That looked very strange. Right, there we go. Next. If you want to support the show, there's a number of different ways that you can do that. You can buy some merch, first of all. You can do a super thanks or a super chat, depending if you're watching live or on replay. And you can also head over to kevsrobots.com/coffee if you want to buy me a physical coffee. And I am a big coffee drinker. I have at least one coffee per day. And you can also join the YouTube membership program as well. This little join button after you've subscribed. You can click that as well. I think we have somebody else join there. Thank you, Gent Compu. Yeah, we've had a bit of a drop-off in people who are like paid subscribers. I don't know why that was, but people sometimes... Adam Hart Davis, thank you for that, Peter. Yes, he has the 3 amp plug cover campaign. Yes, that's right. Well found. Thank you for that. So what else we got on here? What's going on there? If I don't click on the right thing, it sometimes messes up. Supporters. So talking of supporters, let's just give a quick shout out to everyone here. So we've got Michael and Matt were really kind to buy me a coffee recently. We've got Marlon and Victor. They also bought a coffee within the last month. We've got Marlene, John, Tom, Shemi and Steve as well. Hey Steve on the chat live as well, who are members via the Buy Me a Coffee. And then YouTube members, we have Dale, we've got Carol, Josie, Skipper Banks, Jeff Ford, W. Peabody, Bill, Hoy. We have Hans from Cheerlights, Michael, and of course we have Tom, who's our longest supporter. Cool. So let me just jump back to that, and I think just my last, love this little outro, kevsrobots.com, looks so professional. Cool, so let's have a quick look what people were talking about on here. So 240 is only for appliances. We have larger sockets that can't be confused. That's true. So in front of my house I have I think that's probably 240 volts actually, but it's the electric car charger socket. It's like a great big caravan socket thing. So yeah, we've got that. Adam Hart Davis, the 3 amp plug cover campaigner. Yeah, I came across it and I was like, is that the same Adam Hart Davis? Yes, it is. It is. He was really, really riled up about that. So in the US, you can hook up 240 and even 440 separately, and you can still run the 110. Cool. Yeah, Dr. Adam Hart Davis. Yep, he was really great. He has a really nice way about him. He was always on his bicycle, and I think he's still kicking about somewhere, but he's not been on too many documentaries recently. Not I've seen anyway. I'm new to them, but I didn't know the reason. Cool. Washers, dryers, refrigerators, etc. Fatally Flawed is the website. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Another fact about the UK plugs is that the isolation band on the pins was added because of old people, disabled, not children. Interesting. Yeah, well, there's lots of people like my father-in-law has dementia. If he tried putting a plug in, he would basically just grab it the best he can and shove, so it would protect him just as much as it would protect anyone. Cool. So thank you so much for watching today. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. This was quite an easy video for me to do today. It didn't require as much prep as the other video, which I basically spent all week doing for like 6 or 7 minutes worth or whatever it was. But hopefully that was just as high quality as my normal stuff as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time. Bye for now.